I'd like to ask a question in regard to the number of individuals who are going to be the population of this whatever high school. And are we going to have the school named? Because clearly we're not talking about a community centre now.
Well, we call it la Maison de la FracoPhonie.
But it is not a cultural centre, it is a school, right? And the reality is that what we're talking about now, ladies and gentlemen, is something that is completely different from what we were told about, a number of us, in July of 2010. That this project is now abandoned, yes? This is the $55 million project. This is no longer... Okay, so now we're talking about your school board. Now, the reality is then, what is the population going to be, and what is the catchment area for the population that are going to be students at this high school? And by the way, what is, how many teaching staff will there be?
You'll have to allow me to answer. As I corrected, I mistakenly called it a high school. It's for young adults teaching. So, adult high school. I use the word high school again. Adult teaching.
Like Commerce High School.
Okay. Okay. So the number of staff and the number of, I don't have those numbers, but I can certainly share those with you. I don't want to give you false information because we're here to share.
Will it be no 100?
There's no budget.
Low hundreds?
He doesn't even have a budget yet.
Will it be,
We want to say up to,
100?
okay, so
Will it be 150?
if you want me to
teaching
commit
staff?
to a number, we're talking about 5 classes. Generally classes are 20 to 25 individuals per classroom. So that would be the ultimate maximum. We doubt that they'll be at that capacity definitely at the beginning, but that's our objective. So we're talking about 5 to 6 classrooms.
And what will the catchment area be?
I don't have that information. To be fair with you, so I don't want to.
Would there be any interest in the school board's part? Because just taking out the question here, because I was also under the impression earlier on that this was going to be a joint community and school board venture. And there was a lot more sort of opportunities, it seems to me, at that previous meeting than what you're talking about now. Would there be interest in the school board to talk to the community about developing community-based programming that perhaps is not exactly what was originally proposed, but would be much closer than what you're currently proposing?
We're definitely open to having those conversations. It is ultimately a francophone center, so the occupants will be francophones. However, it'll be shared with the community and it will be accessible to the community.
And where are they coming from?
They're coming from all of the west of Ottawa.
I'd like to ask a question. How many Canadiens Français are in this room this evening? And how did you get informed about this meeting this evening?
From the mayor of Bayshore.
Okay.
This has been published on numerous community websites, on our QTN website, we've had it on our Facebook page, it's been on social media. We blasted it out in a newsletter in our neighborhood as well. So this meeting was primarily intended for residents of our neighborhood. It was not ever intended to be a wider west of Ottawa.
Well, residents who are Canadiens Français of Britannia Heights are definitely our neighbours.
This will be some kind of an educational institution. What will the diplomas say? What will be offered to these students, these young adults who attend?
I'm going to have to let the Board of Education speak to that. I want the Community Association.
So it's an adult high school.
Speaker.
Plus the community part. So the answer to your question is a adult high school diploma. Adult high school certification.
Secondary High School, Ontario diploma.
That's the aim.
Great.
I'm just wondering, what percentage of your facilities are for English-speaking people, and what percentage of your facilities are for the French-speaking people?
Okay. So all the spaces that will be constructed will be occupied by francophone organizations, and all the common spaces, meaning the gym areas, and all those can be and will be accessible to all of the community. But the occupants, the main occupants of the building will be francophone organization.
What is no English in the main?
There will be no English, I can't say there will be no, because that's not a statement, but the intent is that it's a francophone community hub for francophone organizations.
What is the percentage? He should meet the next estimate. What is in
Ah,
English and?
An estimate of what?
What percentage is the French-only facilities and what is?
All of it.
All
of
It's
it.
a francophone.
They'll decide what they give to the Anglos.
Exactly.
As we do with all of our schools throughout our organizations.
Question for the councillor, has the site plan been submitted for approval yet, or has it gone before the planning commission?
Questions from those with their hands up?
Has the site plan gone to the planning committee for approval
We're going to
yet?
finish taking questions from those with their hands up, please. Yes, go ahead.
Me?
Yes. And then I think we're starting to run low on time. But I do know that, wow, we'll have a chance afterwards if you have one-on-one questions. We can take a few minutes afterwards as we're taking down the room.
This is in process, so this is definitely
Okay,
approved.
has it been
And-
submitted to the planning committee?
Yes, this has been done.
Has it been approved?
Yes, this is why it's
Absolutely.
under
So
construction.
the site plan for this property has been approved by the planning council? That's all I'm asking, I just clarified, it's in process, means
Yes.
nothing.
Answer is
Okay.
yes.
Okay,
And
so,
can I further talk about, I've been a school board trustee for 8 years, and what they're talking about in terms of the program, we have so many of these in the English board. They're called alternate programs. They're scattered throughout the city. They're usually in smaller sites. So this very much reflects it. This is just a francophone version of the same thing that we do in the English board throughout our system. We take a smaller site. It's not a regular high school at all. Sometimes they're, former elementary schools. They're small sites, and sometimes they're multi-purpose. And so this very much fits in the model that the English board does. So having an alternate site. So just wanted to point that out because I'm very familiar with it.
well, with all due respect, we heard that 10 years ago and $9 million ago. If I went to a bank 9 years ago and got $9 million,
Can I ask you to
Sorry.
follow up then separately? We're going to finish.
and then I go back 9 years later and there's still plywood on the door, would you give me $9 million if you were a bank?
So, I just have a question about some of the terms you're throwing around to clarify. You mentioned, you said young adults or students that have left the traditional high school track or curriculum. Are these students that have typically, been removed from the system, or, what kind of, where is this population coming from, and what's their nature?
So, these are people, young adults that may have left the system, meaning they moved on, they didn't finish their high school diploma, they moved on, and then a few years later, they may wish to complete that education, and this is an opportunity for that.
Okay, so it's to answer, so just for clarity to my question.
Yeah.
It's not going to be primarily students that were specifically removed from other schools, or
We tend not to remove people from our system, we definitely want to keep them, and this is another way to attract them and so that they get the education they deserve, yeah.
If the Ford government removes funding for this project, will you again go in the streets to buses and
I
will
want
you
to
have
thank everybody
protests?
for coming. If you, as I said, if you have specific questions afterwards, feel free to ask them, but you've had a chance to ask a lot of questions. If you have specific questions that you want to ask to some of the speakers here, feel free to stick around. If you don't have any questions, thank you for coming. What we will do is host